Well, hello there. Hi. Um, I wanted to get this out. I Today isn't really a day where I normally like take the time to do any like work stuff. I'm trying to create some kind of order around that, I guess. But there's a thought that I just wanted to capture as far as like being in the second hub and talking about it and its relativity to the first and the third hub. And in the reading yesterday, I talked a little bit about it. But in the second hub, so the first hub is about stability, solidity, trust, consistency, boundary, and and so this is this is the notion of a foundation and a container in the first hub. And if we don't have containment, if we don't have foundation, there's just a more of a likelihood to be grasping onto things to create stability. So without the like inherent sensation of feeling grounded and stable, that things that should pass aren't necessarily allowed to easily. So even like feelings or experiences or things that really should just come and go, which is a lot of things, almost pretty much almost everything to a certain extent has some of that nature in it. Um, that the first hub in its kind of mundaneness actually contains this very essential supporting function for everything that comes after it. And that in the second hub, where we're getting into feeling and emotion and pleasure and enjoyment and sensation and nuance and even just and like some of the kind of like just things that have to do with our emotional literacy, that a really important aspect of the second hub is that it passes. So it's kind of like it has a lot of like oppositeness in many ways, as far as it being stable and solid. It's actually like about this counter complementary opposite quality, which is that things pass and allowing for them to pass. So if we contain in our physical being the sense of stability and we cultivate that actively with respect for what consistency, what even, like ultimately what we get more into, which is like habits and the types of like devotional discipline that we partake in our lives, that we're also allowing greater capacity, if we don't crowd it out, to let things go, to let things like pass through. And especially with emotions, I think one of the things of like allowing is like kind of is really part of the thing of the passage of emotion, is allowing it because knowing it's transitional, it's transitory anyway. Like that there isn't going to be a like staying of the emotion no matter what, no matter what. Like it's just not the nature of the aspects of this hub, is that things will come and go, and things that feel good, being like really attached to holding on to those things that feel bad, being really attached to like pushing them out, is even to be able to introduce, and this we get into this in later hubs, is just curiosity, and being able to actually like more deeply like stay with whatever's happening with interest. And so I just, it was like that. That kind of came up, and I was like, I kind of want to capture that. And there's another part of that, which is the container of the first hub and the boundary that's cultivated within it. And this is an ongoing kind of sort of like ebb and flow, as far as like the management of our like personhood, is the complementary opposites of things that work together, like like, it's like a glass and coffee, so that containment is like the exact opposite of the contents, which are, like super dynamic and can like move from form to form like pretty effortlessly. Like, I take a sip and all of a sudden it's moved into a very, like contents move into a very different experience. Um, and so it's like starting to work with understanding these qualities in the facets of our nervous system so that we can actually become the owner operator of understanding the parts that need attention and nurture and care. And so one of the things about the first hub is the boundary. And this is where in the second hub where we really get into this, which is, oh, see, now I'm going to really want to talk about this more. But with the thing about a boundary is essentially all trauma is about boundary invasion. So capital T, all trauma. And not that Parinama method explicitly addresses trauma, um, but we're talking about a nervous system and its programming. So and also it's, we talk about like the impacting factors. So of course, we're tiptoeing around the notion of trauma. Um, I guess tiptoeing is kind of a good word because I'm not talking about the events. So this is like totally going to be a digression, but it's important to me for Parinama and for in kind of this container, so to speak, to be talking about like interruption and stress rather than like really the furthest end of the spectrum in terms of shaping functions of our nervous system. Because I think that to really even understand the impact of the most like intense, um, distorting, like damaging, like things that happen to a nervous system is like getting into some of the stuff that is shaping and like has a little bit more of like more nuance in it. So anyway, so the thing is with like the second hub is really about, and so this is like once again talking about like the complementary opposition is that the first hub is about the containment and the safety, and the second hub is about being able to relax that. And so this is to do with being able to have intimacy and and just to feel without without like being vigilant and like hyper protective or fearful of loss, because feeling good is actually it's like in feeling, I think there is like there's one version of events where there's just a lot of capability to feel bad and manage bad feelings, but good feelings wind up being actually like very overstimulating and activating. And so that can be because there's a fear of losing feeling good. There can be a lack of capacity and practice with like being able to receive love and feel it, because it, like it's just not developed. We work on that, slowly but surely. Uh, and so before we're really working on these boundaries, I mean, before we're working on these kind of softer things, like the fact that feelings pass, the fact that to really like open up and connect with a person, the first hub, like really understanding that part of ourselves is just this really essential thing, to be able to make all of this next stuff possible. So I'm going to read a little bit and then I'm going to go and have breakfast. So, okay. So we're in the themes. And actually, I had this idea that I'm going to start numbering these by the page so people who are reading can use this as a resource if they care to. So, anyhow, here we go. So we're into the themes and we're still in the learning of the hub of what it is. So I'm going to talk through pleasure and aversion here. And so Feelings register on a spectrum of pleasure to disgust. Each of us has a unique pleasure profile of what we like and what we do not like. Arising is a spontaneous response uniquely tuned by our innate biology and psychology, and inevitably incorporating social conditioning and the associated belief systems about appropriate behavior. Mm. Self gratification in the second hub takes what it wants, not as an act of malice, but out of exquisite joy without fixation on consequence. Unless it's fun for them, babies and toddlers don't like to share. Mine more, give me, I want, which is healthy. However, they may have been shamed for being selfish, which is an interruption before the consideration of others was a developmentally appropriate expectation and even possible. I'm going to move this here. I'm like going cross eyed. As adults, surrender and absorption into pleasure, to unhook from perceived control's safe harbor, to only want more, and to freely and openly express rapture and delight can be considered taboo. Pleasure is unapologetic, it can't tell time, and takes without considering reciprocity. If we experience chronic guilt and shame, which I discussed below, the disdain for this type of surrender can be particularly strong. Some folks attempt to control pleasure by reducing it to a concept rather than a sensate experience, and by verbally expressing enjoyment without feeling it. There is growing evidence that the brain structure and chemistry play significant roles in an individual's ability to suppress desire, which can be considered an asset for high levels of professional performance, but a liability for overall quality of life. A repressed culture that fears what it regards, oh my gosh, I'm like a little bit dizzy here, like from reading. I think I need to put on my glasses. Here we go. Yeah, this will be better. Okay. Bloop. A repressed culture that fears what it regards as sexual contaminate. Oh my God, these aren't even good. We're about to get into the good stuff here. All right. A repressed culture that fears what it regards as sexual contamination pushes pleasure into the shadows, where desire can become cold, angry, and even predatory. When we see joy and self satisfaction as either a provocation or disturbed behavior, we protect ourselves from sending the wrong signals with overcompensating rigidity. Predatory behavior and adultification, when adults think adult level maturity is possible in children, are violent to a developing psyche, and being victimized interrupts the relationship with pleasure and joy, the relationship with life itself. So I'm going to actually stop because this is really heavy. Because yeah, this is like actually worth like kind of wrapping right here, because I want to just mention that um this like the notion of like sexual contamination. There's an example. So there's this guy who rescues kittens like in like massive distress. Like he's on TikTok, is David somebody, and like he's like developed himself like a little, like all these like a I don't know, emergency room for kittens, and he does this beautiful like heart like I mean it's just absolutely astonishing care around the clock, because it's like they've lost their mothers somehow, they've actually been attacked or whatever, and there's tiny little helpless creatures, and he feeds them and warms them and hugs them and kisses them, and someone had made a comment that they thought it was creepy that he was kissing them, and he was hurt by it, and he went on to explain that, he kisses them because he believes that this it's really important that the kittens, for them to even like have a shot at life, feel that love, and they feel that, which if you keep reading, he's right. he's correct about this. But the reason I bring this up in here is that this kind of thing about like affection of all kinds being sexual and predatory and creepy and gross is a result of suppression of healthy sexuality. So it all starts with repression, where it pushes the pleasure into like dark places so that it can only be like maybe it can't be expressed at all, or that there's only certain places that are very limited where it can be expressed, and it's very natural, and because it's natural it's going to like seep out. But if it's been repressed, it's part of integrity, so it's going to like start to take on like some darker qualities, and even potentially become, mixed with rage and violence. And so, but the notion, like stepping all the way back to the idea that there is no innocence in sensuality, like that sensuality absolutely cannot be innocent, and which is absolutely untrue. Like a baby, you have some parents even that are like really frightened by the fact that their child is touching and kissing and hugging, and if they themselves are like interrupted in the second hub, this can be highly activating and lead to kind of this thing where like that's rejected. So that's one part of this, which is which is bringing this back into ourselves and consciously examining the notion um, of touch and sensation and pleasure as non-sexual, as something that can be shared between like people, where there isn't anything that's about like sexual connection, which is like this like ultimate pinnacle of intimacy, which is like really like reduction of boundary in a sense. So like the importance of safety, because you're literally like merging in this like in the most intimate way, that the boundary, that it being a safe place to do it without a boundary is really essential, or it causes interruption. So it's not really that surprising that second hub is a very, very, very like, I guess I'll call it tricky place to navigate, for lack of a better word. But in this, it's even like you think about how doing this is something I'm working on right now, which is that I like that there just needs to be like doing a lot versus actually being able to be in this kind of like numinous state of just enjoyment of doing things with no purpose, doing things just because they're fun and they feel good. Like that can be like really like that's like living, like that's actually being alive. So anyway, so I just wanted to capture that. I'm gonna go get my breakfast, but I just want to send you so much love. I really do, and appreciation for coming along. And again, Mira, this is you and me now. I really think, yeah. Listen, Mira, you're the only person who's talking to me on this, so I'm talking back to you, and I'm responding rather, and just expressing my appreciation and love for you. And yes, it really matters a lot to me. Um I really feel like, as so the idea of making these as a resource for people who are reading that can have can kind of dip in by page. I kind of like now really like that idea. And but for right now, in the semi real time, having the connection, it really matters to me. And for anybody who wants to comment, just interact with this, even if it's like sending me direct messages, it's absolutely fine. I don't mind that people do that instead of commenting in the open. Whatever is comfortable. So anyway, hope you're having a good day, and talk to you soon. All right, bye.